Welcome to the TriMetric Roadmap, powered by Business Freedom Advisors, the podcast for business owners who want to grow their business and enjoy their life. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Landis, creator of the TriMetric tracking system and author of Balancing Act. If you're tired of chasing success at the expense of your health, your marriage, or your peace of mind, you're in the right place. On this show, we help you track what really matters: business health, life quality, and leadership performance, all in one simple, powerful system. Because when those get out of sync, everything else starts to break down. Our goal here is to help you align it all so you can lead with clarity, scale with purpose, and finally enjoy the freedom you've been working so hard to create. And if it feels like no one's ever shown you how to pull that off, this podcast might just be the missing link you've been quietly searching for. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the TriMetric Roadmap podcast, brought to you by Business Freedom Advisors. I'm Scott. This is Jeff. And last time we were talking about the difference between mission and vision, and that preferred future, as Jeff likes to call it, picture of the far hillside and how that flows out of your deeper why or purpose. So today we're going to make it just really practical. It's a two-part podcast. So last week we tackled the first half. This is the one we'll wrap it up this week. We're going to give you some practical stuff. How do you know if your vision and strategic thinking are really healthy? So how do you know if your strategic thinking and vision are really healthy? And how can you quickly self-assess where you're at on a 1 to 10 scale? So we're going to go through that today, Jeff.
Sounds great. I'm excited for it.
Yes, and we have an entire executive performance assessment. We've been going through a 7-part series or multiple part series, more than 7, but it's 7 domains in our executive performance assessment. And the one that we've been talking about is strategy, and it's a part of your leadership. All right, so let's go right into some red flag behaviors when it comes to vision and strategic thinking. First of all, a red flag could be if your future picture is unclear. What are your thoughts on that? Future picture unclear. It kind of relates to that far hillside that you brought up last week, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay. So when we start off, first of all, let's redefine that mission is something that never changes. Mission is your driving force, the why for your organization, and your vision is really that preferred future that changes throughout time. It's a destination that you want to lead the team to or the organization to, and once you get there, a new vision comes about. Sometimes you just have a vision to get around this boulder, and then once you get around the boulder, metaphorically, you see what's actually on the other side, and you can then you realize there's a new vision. We were going towards this one preferred future, now we're going this other way. But the point is the vision does change, but it's a preferred future that you're putting out there for the team. The other thing we want to add into this foundationally is that your mission and vision have to be aligned with your core values, either as the owner of the company or as the organization. And really, one of the things that, Scott, you are really the best I've ever seen at, and which I referred to last week, but what you are so excellent at is really helping people to boil down and define what are their core values and have that be the first thing they deal with before moving on to, okay, well then what's the mission? If that's the why of who I am as the founder of this company, that has to be what is the foundation of where this company is going. And so therefore the why of the company really has to be aligned with the why and the core values of who you are as the founder. And so if we have all those aligned, then it just makes sense that some of the red flags are confusion. If you don't have compelling vision needs to be compelling. And if you don't have compelling vision, then the team is going to be confused. There will be people celebrating successes that are off track of where you actually want to be going. And so you as the founder will be confused on why they're really that excited about that success.
Yeah. Wait, before you
Or
go too far down that, let me just position this real practically for our founders listening, um, so that just kind of preempt their mind to be thinking where you're headed here. So, how clear is the future picture? Um,
Mhm.
from a 3-year perspective, a 1-year perspective, down to the next quarter. So here's some red flags to look through, and I'll just throw these all out, and then you can go wherever you want with it, Jeff. So
Sounds good.
talking to you, the founder, our listener here, if you asked your team, if you asked a few people on your team, uh, what is our vision? Where are we going? What's our mission? And you got different answers, and the answers were completely all over the place. That's a red flag. If you do some strategic planning, and maybe you do a good cadence of every quarter, you're doing a kind of setting some goals, but every quarter feels like a reset instead of a continuation of a consistent like storyline or a consistent vision. If it seems like a reset every quarter or even every year, that would be a red flag. If you have 3 to 5 year big dreams, but no concrete 90-day how to get there, like that's aligned, like Jeff was just talking about, aligned to that 3 to 5 year, that's a red flag. And if you have projects that don't clearly ladder up to anything, we're just busy, lack of clarity. So those are some of the red flags that probably are on the listener's mind, Jeff. So where do you want to go with that? And maybe right back where you were, but
Yeah, I think the what you started off with asking your employees or key people in the team, what the driving force of the company is, the mission, what
mhm.
is the vision for right now. I think that's a good litmus test for how well have I actually defined and then communicated the mission and vision of this organization. And because you will get different answers, but the goal would be to get different wording of the same answer. Because people are going to word it differently. That means they're internalizing it.
I
And then
like
it's
that.
really a part of them. If they're just spitting back the exact same language, that means they've memorized it. But if they're spitting back a variation of the right core thing,
Hmm.
then that means they've internalized it. And so that's just asking people is a great litmus test. And then once one of the things you said that's really interesting is if if you feel like you're resetting every quarter, then that means that you're mixing up your vision with your strategic plan.
Mm,
Because we
go
do
into that.
highly recommend going into strategic planning and having
Mhm.
90-day plans. And that's the cadence we work on with Business Freedom Advisors is our 90-day plans. And there's deliverables, there's metrics, there's milestones along the way. And but that's not the vision. That's the strategic plan for how to get across the metaphorical ravine to
Yeah,
get to the other side and the
yeah, good
summit
clarity.
of that next that vision success.
Hmm.
And that so the strategic plan comes after defining who am I, what are the core values, what is the mission of this organization, what is the vision for this next season. Seasons can be years, they can be weeks. But what's the vision for this next season? And then how do we get there? And let's do strategic plans for every 90 days, how to get there.
All right.
And there's communication and leadership all along the way in there, of course.
Hmm. All right. Let's talk about, let's shift to a different, maybe red flag. So, business owner listening, I mean, I know I could relate to this. Have you ever, I've definitely had this situation where it's my calendar. I look at my calendar and it's 100% operational. It's back-to-back meetings. There's zero white space. There's no planning blocks. If you are feeling that right now, I remember 5 years ago when I'm just threw that out there. It was probably like I remember the specific moment. It seems like it was pre-COVID, but so that's already like more than 5 years ago. It's interesting. There's before COVID and after COVID, kind of like it's like the Jesus marker. You got two
Yeah.
moments in time that all of history surrounds around. But anyway, so it was pre-COVID, and I remember I was with my previous coaching firm called Kingdom Business Coaching, and I was trying to schedule some planning time, and I had to go out. I had in my calendar, I had to look out 3 months from the day. And I was working with a coach and a mentor, and he was saying, yeah, you just need some planning time. Like, you need some time to think on your business. You are just like going on a hamster wheel and you have no time. And I was like, okay, yeah. And he suggested, yeah, put some time blocks on your calendar so that are just your white space that is for planning, working on the business. And I had to go out 3 months before I could even find the time. But that was such a strong lesson for me that I've never stopped it since. On my calendar are time blocks. I have time blocks for every week, where I just do planning. And like you were saying, we suggest every quarter. So if you're listening to this, that's a red flag if you can relate to that story. If you're thinking, your vision or your strategy only comes up in conversations during crisis, that's another red flag. So Jeff, where does that take you as far as what we might suggest at Business Freedom Advisors?
I think, first of all, fundamentally, that's a priority problem. And if you're not able to schedule it in, that's somebody who doesn't set the appropriate priority on vision or strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so key to make sure that you're actually doing that you have to schedule in the time and make it more of a priority than that one other networking event or that one other potential whatever. It's the strategic planning is going to get you much further, much faster than that one extra meeting would have done. And to me, that boils down to, ultimately and grossly summing it up, a priority problem. And then practically for me, what I've always done is when I was in the busiest times of my life, where I wasn't controlling what happened in life was controlling my schedule. I have had to schedule out once a month, or no, once a quarter. I would go away for 2 nights. My wife was aligned with this for me, and she actually liked me better when I came back anyway. But this was when I was living in Oregon. Yeah, this is when I was living in Oregon, and I went an hour away. I went out to the Edgefield, the Midman's Edgefield Hotel, and I went there because it was somewhere inspiring for me. They had
It wasn't just because of the craft beers.
No, actually, it was the Monkey Puzzle whiskey, which is what my entry into whiskey.
Gotcha.
They sold it there. So I would go out to the gift shop. I would get a bottle on my way in, check it in. I would go up to my room, pretty cheap rooms. And then they have a soaking pool. They have a movie theater. They have multiple restaurants, a little like par 3 golf course. And so I had enough activities to stimulate my mind and be able to go out and do different things. But most of all, I would sit at the little desk in my room and just be there most of the time. And I wouldn't talk to anybody. But the key for me was 2 nights, because I got one full day to just plan, pray, process, think, accomplish certain irritating tasks that were just, stacking up on me, and plan out, what is my strategy for these next 90 days. And some people are going to be confusing goals with vision as well. Vision is not goals. Goals are a part of the strategic plan, the 90-day plans that come out of the 1 year plan. And then you break it down to 90 days for how to accomplish that by pulling the right levers to move the boulders. And those are the goals when you bring those in.
Yeah, we call those critical. They're CSIs, critical strategic implementations. What are the critical strategic things that you need to implement into your business in order to move towards the vision? And by the way, this episode brought to you by McMinimum's Edgefield, thanks to our sponsor, Unpaid. But if you're out there, McMinimum's Edgefield, you're welcome for the free ad. All right. Here's another.
We always stop by McMinimum's when we go back into town. Yeah,
exactly. All right. So keeping the episode very practical, here's another red flag that you might be thinking you might relate to. Jeff just laid out a great antidote to this, but it can be super. Your calendar. I like what you said, Jeff. You said, "Is your calendar in control of you, or are you in control of your calendar?" Tweet that.
Yeah. Are you determining the life you want to live, or is your calendar determining your life?
Right. So it's really easy to it's really hard to know what to say no to if you don't have the clarity that comes out of this process we've been talking about. And it's really easy for yeses to just show up all over your calendar, all over your priority list. Like
Mhm.
everything's a yes when you don't know what absolute clarity of what your true priorities are. What is your absolute yes? Um, what's that book that we were reading about? I've got it on my whiteboard here actually. Linear time versus holistic time. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, let me just run through this real quick. If you can remember the name of the book, throw it out there. But we read this book where we use time as a tool. Most goal planning is around linear time, where your past dictates your future. Your past is informing your present, and you think about what's possible in the future based on your past. Where holistic time, where the book, uh, you know, gave us a clue. Holistic time is your future dictates the present and guides the present. Because in reality, we don't have a past and we don't have a future. We only have a now. There is only the present. So if you realize that, then no longer does your past have to dictate your future. You can think about where you want to go and frame your past in your present and put the power in the future. So the power of the future dictates the present. And in reality, if somebody has accomplished something gigantic in the next 3 to 5, in a 3 to 5 years period, then for you, regardless of what your past is, it is possible to accomplish something gigantic too. And that future vision of where you want to go can 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 inform and frame your past and say, hey, everything that got me to where I am is putting me in position to make it so I can get there in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, if that's true, if you think bold, if you think 10 times what you thought you could do, and then in the next 90 days, what is it going to be? When you get that kind of clarity, what is called holistic time rather than linear time, then all of a sudden you can change the narrative to your preferred future rather than what the predictable future is, or a bold future rather than the predictable future. And once you have that, what is so powerful, and we did this, we had a strategic planning session with you, me, and Caleb back in, I think, September, October. We were meeting together, and I just threw out a gigantic goal, like, hey, by mid 26, I want to be at this level of income. What would we have to do, and what would have to happen in order for that to happen? And we are on track for that. And
We
it
are.
seemed like an impossible goal, but that book was, what inspired me. And be like, okay, yeah, doesn't matter what the past was, what is possible in the future. And now what happened with that is everything that doesn't move us towards that big goal is a no. It doesn't go on my priority list. It doesn't go on my calendar. And I'm so clear on my yes. Do you have the name of the book? Because this book has changed the
Ah,
way I think about it. And we'll put it in the show notes if we don't think about it. I'll look it up when you respond here. But it has made it so crystal clear what my yes is and what my no is. And it's become so easy to say no to the things that don't get us there. In fact, on my whiteboard here, I have my impossible goal deadline. It creates extreme filtering. It clarifies what my super pathways are only. Like if you had the opportunity to get on the freeway or take the side roads, you're going to take the freeway when you know exactly where you're going. It's not meandering. We are going. And then super who's only is the last thing I have written on my whiteboard here. So I'm only looking for super pathways, and I'm only looking for super who's. Who are my super who's? Who do you know? It's not what you know, it's who you know. Who do you need to be connected with? Who do I need to meet with? Even if I don't know that person right now, who do I need to meet with in order to get to that impossible goal?
Yeah, and was it Walking to Destiny? Is that the book that came
That's
from?
not the one, but let me find it. You go ahead, and where does that take your mind? And I'll find it here.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was looking for the book, but then I got so interested in what you were talking about, I had to focus.
Uh-huh.
Because all of that is so true. There's a book that I read, or somebody was speaking on it at some leadership conference I was at, and he said that we get to define the dash. And his
Hmm.
idea was that on your tombstone, you have a year you were born and the year you were dead, and you get to define what's in the middle.
Hmm.
And that's so that somehow that verbiage inspired me.
Hmm.
And so many people have such a hard time realizing that they actually have influence on what their future looks like. It is shocking how to me, because I think that way naturally, but there is so many people have such a hard time being able to get through whatever the past was. Some personality traits just make it so that they think the future is just determined, it's going to be what it's going to be, and I'm just going to, be a part of it. But the truth is that we get to at least influence the future. And
Hmm.
the better we do at defining the dash, the more influence we can have on that future. And that's similar, different verbiage for what exactly what you're saying, pretty much. But
Hmm.
I think one key part of that is, for me at least, when I realized that every yes I say means I'm saying no to something else.
Hmm. Good
If
point.
I say yes to having a conversation late at night with my kids, I'm saying no to sleep, or
Mm-hmm.
no to whatever I was going to do in the morning if I let myself sleep in.
Right.
It's every yes means we're saying no to something else. And so therefore, if we have our priorities straight, and if we actually know what our values are, the vision that we have for our lives, and then we apply that to organizations, because that's the driving force of organizations as well. It's the same thing. If we have that driving force for our companies, where we know where we're going, we know what that preferred future is, we have the game plan for how to get there. Of course, we hold that loosely because things change along the way, but we have that game plan. Then we know that if we're saying yes to this thing, we're saying no to this other thing, and that other thing might be a really good thing. So to be able to be really focused on accomplishing goals, there's a lot of times where you end up having to say no to some really good things. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where it really gets difficult, in my opinion, is there's all of these great connections. And on our road trip that we took, we talked through this, because we have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of really great opportunities, but we have to focus in on which ones are we actually going to be saying
Mm-hmm.
yes to, which
Mm-hmm.
ones are we focusing on now and saving others for later
Yeah.
to accomplish certain goals. And it
Yeah.
was only because we'd already defined our goals. And when we had that meeting with Caleb, I was like, okay, Scott. But then we bought the house we did because we believed in that. And we saw
Mm.
that we were going to be able to get there.
Mm.
It affects everything. Is
Wow.
that we actually are on track to be able to
Mm-hmm.
get those goals you're talking about. And
Yeah.
so I mean, you have to say no to some good things,
Yeah.
because we have to be saying yes to the best things, is the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, I think one of the best things we bring to a client or a team that we're working with is the clarity. We bring so much clarity. Our diagnostic process gives founders a clarity on their business and their leadership in their life that they have never had. And I don't say that, hyperbolically. It's the truth. That's what happens. All right. Well, we're out of time. So let me wrap up. I want to give you some practical things that you can take with you. By the way, I kind of broke it down pretty nicely, if I do say so myself. But the book is The Science of Scaling: Grow Your Business
Ah,
Bigger and Faster Than You Think Possible, by Benjamin Hardy and Blake Erickson. And yeah, that impossible goal that we set, we are on track for it, and you can be too. If you are, here's some basic questions. I'm going to put these detailed in the show notes, but ask yourself these questions. How clear is your future picture? 90 days, 1 year, 3 years out? Question, how consistently do you protect time for strategic thinking? Look at your calendar. Is there time blocks? Question, how aligned are your decisions with your mission and visions? Do you have absolute clarity on what your yes and what your no and not yet is? If you want more of that, check the show notes. I'll put the link for the book that we talked about. I'll put all the details on those questions so you can self-rate yourself. Our executive performance assessment is a part of our overall TriMetric picture, which includes business health, life quality, and executive performance. But everything is rated on a 1 to 10 scale. When you take those assessments, it's powerful. You're going to get clarity. So I'll put that piece we talked about in the show notes. But also, I want to encourage you, go to TriMetricQuiz.com. TriMetricQuiz.com will get you to our assessment. You can take it for free. You're going to get a readout of where you're at, and you'll have better clarity on where you want to go. And then, of course, if you want to meet with us after that, that's the path to meet with us as well. So TriMetricQuiz.com. All right, Jeff, thanks for today's episode. We wrapped up vision and strategy today. Next time, we'll go into the second thing that's listed in the executive performance assessment. Out of the 7, we've got 6 more to go. So we're well on our way.
We are. It's going to be an exciting journey. And I just want to say, if you can't start with a day away a quarter, start with not taking your phone into the shower or bathroom. Do something simple and have some space with your brain to be able to think. So.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks for listening to the TriMetric Roadmap powered by Business Freedom Advisors. I've been your host, Scott Landis. If you're growing a business but something still feels off, you're not alone. That's exactly why we created the TriMetric Quiz. It's not a personality test, it's a powerful diagnostic tool that shows you where you're in alignment and where things may be silently slipping off track across your business, life, and leadership. It only takes a few minutes, and the clarity you'll gain is a game changer. Go to TriMetricQuiz.com to take the quiz now before the cost of staying stuck gets any higher. Until next time, stay focused, stay aligned, and keep building a business that truly supports your life.